This video will show you how to use the wash tilt-in feature of an H3 Sierra Pacific double hung window. First, you want to unlock your window and open the sash a few inches before you tilt it in, or else you could break the sash or other components in the window. You engage the tilt latches to tilt it down. You do not need to remove the sash to wash the window. Pro tip is if you have a dining room chair, you can set that in front of the window when you're tilting in the lower sash to wash it, and you can lean it on the chair for when you go to tilt in the upper sash. Again, you want to bring down the sash a few inches and engage the tilt latches to tilt it into the house. And you want to keep it horizontal, and you can wash the outside of the windows. Again, you do not need to remove the sash to do this. To put it back in, you want to engage the tilt latches, and you want the upper sash to go into the outermost track of the double hung. As you can see here, it got put into the first track, so the window is not horizontal because there's two tracks. The lower sash moves up and down on the innermost track, shown here, and the upper sash slides up and down on the outermost track. So you need to make sure those tilt pins for the upper sash go back into the outermost track of the jam liner for it to operate. So if it gets stuck in that innermost track, you just need to re-engage the tilt latches and push it back into the outermost track. You do not want to slam the window without engaging those tilt latches, or else you're going to break the tilt latches and those will need to be replaced. So now it's in the outermost track, it's completely vertical, and now the sash will operate up and down the jam liner. To reinstall the lower sash, again, you want to keep it horizontal and flat. You do not want to tilt it, and you want to be able to push it up. And when it's at this angle, if it's correct and seated correctly in the jam liner, you should be able to move the lower sash up and down before you engage the tilt latches to put in the innermost channel there. And then you can check for operation and make sure it is locked. If your latch does not lock, you'll want to make sure that the upper sash and lower sash are completely pushed up and down so the lock can engage. If it's down a little bit or up a little bit, the lock will not engage. And here's just a close-up of the tilt latches. If the sash does get removed, or you need to remove the sash, you want to lift up on it slightly and then tilt it out at an angle. But you want to lift it up first because these little tabs here that have little ears on this sash pivot pin, and there's one on each side of both sashes, of the upper and lower, they get seated into this little U-shape clutch shoe right in here. So you want to lift the sash slightly up and out first before you tilt it to remove it, or else you can break the clutch shoe or you can break the sash pivot pin if you don't slightly lift up before you tilt it out. And then to put it back in, you're going to want to slightly tilt it, and you need to look to make sure one side sash pin gets seated into that little U shape before you put in the other one. And you just want to take your time when doing this to make sure it gets seated correctly. You want to make sure it's horizontal, and then try lifting your window sash. If it doesn't lift up or it gets stuck, do not force it closed. You will break something. Just take out the sash again and try to remove it. And again, the sash should be able to move freely up and down. You should never have to force it to shut it or to get it to lock in place.